So you may or may not have heard the zoom lens versus prime lens argument. And there's a lot of validity to it. But here's my take. I think the zoom lens is important. My favorite lenses to shoot when I was shooting primarily weddings was a 24-70 with a constant aperture of 2.8 and the 70 to 200 also with a constant aperture of 2.8. What does that mean? As you zoom in and out, the aperture will always stay 2.8 versus some of the other lenses where they will adjust from 3.5 to 5.6, something funky. Look at your lenses, see if it has two apertures, because if it does, it's not gonna stay the same. But my favorite lenses at the time for that use were zoom lenses. However, I'm a huge fan of prime lenses, and here's the reason why. Shooting with a 70 to 200 zoom lens at 2.8 is the same as shooting a 200 prime lens at 2.8. Respectfully, you may have better sharpness because in the prime lens because it only does the one thing, but shooting the same 50 millimeters at 2.8 with a 24 to 70 zoom lens is the same as shooting a 50 millimeter lens, prime lens, at 2.8. Again, you may have better sharpness and clarity with the prime lens because it only does one thing. However, that's not the real benefit, right? Because most of us, like, unless you're the guy that's shooting the billboard for Times Square, it doesn't even matter, right? It really doesn't matter. You could have shot the kit lens that came with your camera, that 18 to 55 lens that we all got at 50 millimeters, and probably got close enough. You would have got the result that you needed. But here's why I like prime lenses. When you're shooting a zoom lens and you're standing a little bit too far away and you want to get a little closer, you just zoom in and nothing changes. When you're shooting a prime lens and you're a little bit too far away and you want to get a little closer, you got to move your feet. And by moving your feet, you automatically start to challenge the way you saw the picture. Now that you've challenged it, even though you might not consciously be thinking about it, you start looking at the photo a little differently. Was that the right spot? Could I have shot it over here? Maybe I should shoot it over here, higher, lower, whatever. But primarily, the prime lens, see what I did there? Primarily, your prime lens will cause you to be more creative. It will cause you to think more about the shot rather than just pick up the camera and press the button and zoom in because you were too far away or zoom out because you were too close. When you've got to move back to see what's in your field of view, you start identifying some other things, and maybe you go, if we just switched a little bit, we have a whole new photo. And that's something that I believe the prime lens is gonna do more than the zoom lens. Now, we can go on and on and on and compare lens quality and all this technical junk, but again, if you're not shooting that huge thing, it probably doesn't matter. If you wanted to take a picture of your dog, it probably didn't matter. If you wanted to take a picture of the house or of that lamppost that looks really cool downtown, none of those things, none of that super sharpness and super clarity and super color saturation matter because you're probably gonna edit the photo anyway, and a lot of stuff's gonna be lost, right? Because if you're not shooting with the $2,000 or $3,000 prime 200 prime lens, you probably also don't understand how to properly edit that photo. And that's no disrespect. I probably don't either, right? Because I don't shoot that stuff. But I do understand if I could, I probably would shoot all prime lenses. I'd probably shoot a 35 mil 1.4, a 50 mil 1.4, an 85 mil 1.4, and maybe the 200, right? But I would only want those focal lengths because I understand the difference in compression from 35 millimeters to 200 millimeters, and I want to intentionally do that. And I understand that having the 200 millimeter prime lens is going to force me to be more creative and see my shot and shoot more intentionally than it would if I had the 70 to 200 and I just zoomed from 70 all the way out to 200. I get it, I've done it before, I know how to make it work, and you probably do too. But the prime lens, my biggest argument for prime over zoom is that prime will force you to be more creative. There's nothing wrong with shooting zoom. You shoot either one, right? The zoom lenses are far less expensive. Look at the aperture ratings for your lens. Consider that, and so that's when you get into like those blurry backgrounds, like you see here. I'm shooting at f2.0, right, versus shooting at a higher aperture. But we'll do a whole video for aperture. But look at that when you're looking at your lens, and consider if you did only have one lens, what would it be? If I had one lens, it's probably 50mm 1.4. As a matter of fact, in the one camera that I currently own, because I sold all of my other camera equipment to switch over systems, but the one camera that I currently own, I have just the one camera and a 50mm 1.4 lens. It's the only lens that I kept. And I could shoot almost anything with it because I understand how to be creative at 50mm. So take that challenge. Even if you have the zoom lens, lock it in at only one focal length and then go out and shoot only that one focal length and see how much you have to change the way you think about your photo. I hope that helps. Let me know your argument and let me know your questions. And hit the like button because that's gonna let me know that you watched it. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.